And we call ourselves the bridge. We bridge the gap between the church and the street and the church. My name is Pastor Reggie Hunter. I'm a missionary for Missions Door. I'm also a pastor of the Recovery House of Worship Life Center in York, Pennsylvania. I came to Christ as a child and was baptized at the early age of 12 years old. Of course, I strayed away from the church like a lot of us sinners do, and I experienced the world. And I rededicated my life in 1998. But I knew God had called me to do something different than what I was doing other than blending in. What I understand about being a missionary is that there's times God will prick your spirit to allow you to understand that it's now time for you to stand out, not fit in. And I began to have that urging in my spirit. Prior to that, I want to make a note that I had been asked to speak all over the United States as an emotional and as a motivational speaker, helping other people come out of the addictions that I had been a member of for over 25 years. Addiction had begun to ravage people's neighborhoods, and that it was no longer exclusive, it was inclusive now. Every community, every town, every nationality had began to be infected by the opioid overdoses to the tune of over 90,000 opioid deaths a year. I can relate to those mothers and fathers who are in the communities outside my own community and help them understand that it's not the way you raised your child. You're not doing a bad job as a parent, but the decisions that we make as addicts, you'll never understand if you've never been impacted by this disease, this sin that we suffer from. I went to Texas, where I was exposed to a place called the Overcomers Outreach, 12-step faith-based program. I was astonished that people could go to 12-step meetings after going to 12-step meetings for over 20 years, to go to meetings and talk about Jesus Christ. I went back to my pastor at Bethlehem Baptist Church and asked him, could I start an Overcomers Outreach meeting? He said, sure, give me some outlines. I gave him the outlines. I began to get involved in ministry, and I began to have a meeting where people could come and talk about Jesus and recovery. We needed people to understand that you may have an addiction, but you can overcome. We began to have such momentum that we had what we called our first spiritual speaker jam, where we invited people with all types of addictions from all over the United States. They came as far as California, Texas, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and they converged on the church. We had 150 addicts in the church talking about Jesus Christ for the first time on the East Coast. And I thought that that's what God was calling me to do, but the calling was greater than that. Somebody told me about Howe, Brooklyn. I went to this church and I met Pastor Raymond Ramos and Pastor Edwin Colon and Pastor Gus Rodriguez, and we talked, and I went back home and I pondered, and my wife and I pondered. We went back again and visited again. We stayed with Pastor Raymond and his wife, and we asked them the questions, the hard, tough questions. How is ministry? How do you start a ministry? We started having meetings. We started having Bible studies. We started having planting meetings to start the church. And for a year, we met and we talked about everything it would take to plant and start a church under the tutelage of those three gentlemen I just talked about. And we launched the church May 28th, 2016. We had momentum from those people who are part of the Overcomers ministry. We invited them into the church. They became some of the church officials. We believe that our outreach purpose is that we go into detoxes and that we go into treatment facilities, taking the name of Jesus Christ. We've been able to have people come to Christ in these developments, even if they never make it to Recovery House of Worship Church or RLC, which is going to be our new name, Recovery Life Center, our Life Center. If they never make it there, it's okay, because our job as missionaries is to make sure they get to Christ. It doesn't have to be that we are the ones that do the watering. We plant the seed, somebody else will do the increase on the seed, but we need to be in a position to continue to carry the message to them. Let us help your child. Let us help you. Let us develop a relationship so that you can get better, your children can get better. And we suggest that you go and get the help that you need. Naranon, Al-Anon, 12-step, Celebrate Recovery, wherever you got to go to get the help that you need. And let us help your child. Let us help your child get into treatment. Let us mentor your child once they're out of treatment. Let us mentor your child so much so that your child will want to do the same thing that we're doing, because we become a power of example. By God's grace and mercy, we started the Recovery House of Worship with momentum, saying that if we could do it, you can do it.